The stars above Vallis Prime were not like the gentle constellations of Earth. They blazed with fierce, almost defiant light, reflecting off the jagged crystal spires of the capital city, Takara. For Captain Jareth Kale, a human dispatched to this far-flung sector of the galaxy, they were both beautiful and terrifying, a reminder that he had crossed billions of miles from home to a civilization that scarcely tolerated outsiders. Yet he had no choice. His mission, assigned by the Interstellar Coalition, was simple: observe, report, and, if necessary, intervene. But nothing in the Coalition's dry briefings could have prepared him for the chaos that now roared through the heart of Takara. The city's energy core, a plasma reactor more volatile than anything Earth had ever built, had ignited catastrophically. Alarms shrieked as molten energy arced through containment walls, fusing metal and glass into twisted sculptures of fire. The colony's inhabitants were evacuating in frenzied streams, their four-limbed bodies slithering, hopping, and floating in ways that defied human physiology. And in the midst of the chaos, a new horror gripped Jareth's heart. Through the smoke and the writhing blue flames, he caught sight of her, Princess Lasara of the Zytherian Empire, her luminous skin flickering with the reactor's light, suspended on a balcony that was already melting into molten debris. Her slender form was pinned between the collapsing crystalline railings and the advancing plasma fire. One misstep, and she would be vaporized before the galaxy even knew she had existed. Without thinking, Jareth stripped off a protective field jacket and activated his suit's emergency shield. It was rated for short bursts of extreme heat, but plunging into an active reactor chamber was madness, even by human standards. Yet he had no choice. The princess's life depended on him. He dove. The plasma seared around him. The heat clawed his shield, the air itself screaming as it ionized. Every instinct screamed to retreat. Yet he pressed forward, calculating each step on the crumbling latticework, arms outstretched toward Lasara. She screamed, an eerie melodic sound that seemed almost musical amid the chaos, and Jareth's heart hammered in his chest. Time dilated in that inferno. Seconds stretched into minutes. He dodged falling crystal shards that ignited on contact, rolling through arcs of energy that would have disintegrated a human instantly. Finally, he reached her. Her eyes, wide with shock and terror, met his, and in that instant, no one else in the galaxy mattered. "Hold on," he shouted over the roar of plasma. Using every ounce of strength, he lifted her away from the collapsing balcony. Sparks clung to his shield, sizzling and evaporating, but he didn't falter. One miscalculation would kill them both. He could feel the heat threatening to breach his suit's defenses. Each pulse of plasma singing against a reinforced polymer. But he didn't think of dying, only of saving her. Then a massive plasma surge erupted from the core, engulfing the balcony and sending a shock wave through the chamber. Jareth threw himself and Lasara to the side, tumbling across the molten floor. The reactor screamed like a wounded beast. For a terrifying moment, they were buried beneath a collapsing lattice, a rain of molten crystal showering down. But when the dust cleared, he was still gripping her hand. Still alive, the human and the Zytherian princess crawled, scorched but breathing, away from the inferno. Behind them, the reactor had erupted fully, sending columns of energy into the atmosphere, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold. Kara's cityscape was a ruin, yet Lasara survived. When they emerged from the chaos, the ground beneath them littered with the bodies of the fallen and the panicked fleeing citizens, The first person to reach them was the Queen. She was magnificent, even in the aftermath of disaster. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, her many eyes observing every angle of the scene with predatory grace. Her crown, an intricate lattice of energy filaments, flickered weakly as she approached. "Lysara!" she cried in Zytherian, her voice a cascade of musical tones that Jarrett's translator barely kept up with. The princess ran to her mother, but instead of admonishment, the Queen's gaze shifted to Jareth. And that gaze, it was not one of gratitude alone. "You," she said in a tone that echoed with imperial authority and something more, something almost intimate, "have risked your life to save mine daughter. That is exceptional." Jareth straightened, wiping soot from his face. "I didn't think. I just—" He stopped, realizing the enormity of what he had done. Saving a princess of an alien empire was not a casual act. It could have political ramifications he couldn't even begin to fathom. The Queen's eyes narrowed, and for a heartbeat, he thought she might strike him down. But then she spoke again. Such courage, such disregard for self. It is not common among your kind. You have proven yourself worthy. Therefore, she paused, her gaze locking onto his with unshakable intensity. You will wed my daughter as her consort. The word struck Jareth like a plasma bolt. "Whoa, what?" "You saved her life," the Queen continued, her tone leaving no room for argument. "Among our people, such an act of bravery creates a bond stronger than any treaty. By tradition, you are now to be her consort. You will live in our palace. You will learn our ways, and you will be bound to her." Jarrett's mind raced. Politically, culturally, intergalactically, this was unprecedented. But he could not deny the truth of his feelings. When he had held Lysara in the reactor chamber, adrenaline had melted away fear, leaving something sharper, more profound. He felt a connection to her, one that transcended species or custom. I accept," he said finally, "if that is what she wishes." Lysara's eyes widened in surprise, then softened with relief. I cannot believe this," she whispered, brushing soot from his shoulder. "You risked everything for me. I owe you more than life itself." Jareth shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. I just couldn't let you die." The Queen observed them, her expression unreadable. Then, with a motion of her hand, she summoned attendants. They came forward to guide the princess and her new consort back to the palace, where a ceremony of binding awaited. Less a wedding in human terms, a more formal acknowledgement of duty, loyalty, and life-sharing, conducted with Zytherian ritualistic precision. As they walked through the devastated city, Jareth noticed the devastation left in the wake of the reactor's meltdown. Buildings lay twisted like metal sculptures. Fires still flared in random pockets, and the citizens were shaken, though no longer panicked. Yet even amid the destruction, a new energy had arisen. Whispers of bravery, of hope, of a human who had plunged into plasma inferno, spread through Takara like wildfire. Inside the palace, the ritual was breathtaking. Bioluminescent banners hung from the ceilings, bathing the chamber in a soft blue glow. The Queen stood at the center, surrounded by her advisors and guards. Lysara and Jareth were led forward, kneeling before her throne. "You understand," the Queen intoned, "that this bond is more than personal. It is a commitment to our people, to the survival of our culture, and to the legacy of the Zytherian Empire." "I understand," Jareth replied. And you, my daughter? The queen asked, her multiple eyes studying Lasara with careful scrutiny. I understand, Lasara said softly, her voice steady now. He saved my life, and I trust him. The queen's expression softened slightly, a rare moment of warmth. Then, with ceremonial precision, she pressed her hand to theirs. Energy flared, coursing from the queen through them, binding their fates. Jareth felt it, a resonance deep in his chest, as if the universe itself had acknowledged a connection. For days after the ceremony, Jareth navigated the complexities of life in the Zytherian court. He learned the nuances of their language beyond the translator, studied the delicate art of plasma manipulation that powered their civilization, and found himself growing accustomed to their rituals, their ways of seeing time, space, and loyalty. Lasara became his guide, and over time, something deeper bloomed between them. In quiet corridors away from courtly eyes, they shared stories of Earth and Valus Prime, laughed at differences in physiology and culture, and found solace in one another's presence. Yet danger was never far behind. The plasma reactor's meltdown had not been accidental. Whispers of sabotage circulated, political rivals seeking to destabilize the Empire, seeing an opportunity in the chaos. Jareth's presence, the Queen's decree, and his bond to Lasara became both a shield and a target. One night, while patrolling the perimeter of the palace, Jareth detected unauthorized energy signatures, a covert strike team attempting to breach the royal chamber. Without hesitation, he engaged them. His knowledge of human tactics, combined with Zytherian energy weapons, made him a formidable opponent. By the time the palace guards arrived, the intruders were neutralized, leaving Jareth victorious but exhausted. When Lasara found him afterward, she embraced him fiercely. "You saved me again," she whispered. Jareth smiled wryly. "I told you, I can't help myself." Months passed, and Kara slowly rebuilt. The reactor was replaced with a safer, more stable model, and the people hailed Jareth as both hero and protector. He never sought the title, but he could not deny a sense of belonging he had never felt on Earth. The Queen, ever vigilant, observed the growing bond between him and Lasara with cautious satisfaction. While she had decreed the union out of tradition, she now saw something more. Genuine partnership, mutual respect, and the beginnings of love. Something rare among Zytherians, even in royal bloodlines. In time, Jareth stood on the same balcony where he had first saved Lasara, looking out at restored Tara, its spires glittering under the violet light of twin suns. Lasara approached, her hand slipping into his. "Do you remember that day?" she asked softly. "How could I forget?" he replied, recalling the inferno, the screams, the chaos, and the moment he had first held her in his arms. She smiled, a gentle glow radiating from her eyes. "You changed everything, Jareth. Not just for me, for all of us." "And you changed me," he said. "I came here as an outsider. I leave as part of something greater than myself. With you." They stood together, watching as the repaired city hummed with life. Above, the stars of Valus Prime burned bright, fierce and defiant, just like the bond they now shared, a union forged in fire, tempered in courage and destined to endure. The Queen's decree had bound them, but it was their choices, their bravery, and their hearts that truly sealed their fate. And in a galaxy where danger lurked in every shadow, they would face it together, as consort and princess, as hero and beloved, and as symbols of hope for a world that had almost been lost to fire.